Okay, right, so there isn't, but we'll move on. So for this question, we're not told which one we're going to use. We're not told whether to use the sine rule or the cosine rule, so we'll have to figure it out. So first of all, we're going to sketch the triangle. Looks like that. So there's our triangle. Now it says that the sides are 11, 13 and 15. Now this is just a sketch, but this is the smallest side, 11, 13 and 15. And it should be fairly clear that this is the smallest angle. Okay, so we're going to call that x. Now, there is an angle sandwiched in between the two sides. So, because I need a sandwich, means I have to use the cosine rule. Okay, so I'm going to use the cosine rule. I'm going to quote it first. A squared equals the sum of the other two sides squares. You'll notice this is a bit like Pythagoras. There is actually a link, but we're not going to go there yet. Minus 2 times BC times cos of, and this angle always matches with this side, so A. Okay. So the key is that A and A are the matching ones. So this is X and 11 are those two things. Now just be very careful with what you put in where. A is a side. It's lowercase, so it's a side. So that will be 11. So 11 squared equals those two squared minus 2 times 13 times 15, so the other two sides squared, times cos of the angle that is sandwiched in between, which is x. Okay, now this one's a little bit harder because x is hidden within all of this. It's not, we need to somehow isolate it. So I think the easiest thing is to try and simplify this a little bit. So 11 squared is 121. This is 169. This is 225. And then 2, I'm doing this on my normal calculator, 2 times 13 times 15 is actually 390 cos x. All right, so we're going to get rid of a few bits at a time. So I'm going to simplify this a little bit more. 169 plus 225 is 394 minus 390 cos x. All right, you need to be careful with your rearranging here. So I'm going to do 121. I'm going to subtract 394 from both sides first of all. But remembering that that minus belongs to the 390. Okay, if you're going to go wrong anywhere in this topic, it's going to be here in the rearranging. So just be very, very careful, one step at a time. So 121 minus 394 is actually minus 273, and that equals minus 390 cos x. Now we need to get rid of the minus 390. We don't add minus 390 because that's not what it's doing to cos x. There's an invisible times sign here. So we need to divide by minus 390. So we get minus 273 over minus 390 equals cos x. Those minuses cancel out. Right, so now into our calculator, we type in 273 divided by 390. 390 actually gives us 0.7. That's fairly easy, so we could write it down, but we can just store it in the calculator as well. That gives us cos x. We want x itself, so we need to do inverse cos of our answer. Doesn't like that button. Delete second. Close brackets, and it gives us 45.5729. 45.5729. Dot dot dot, so x is roughly 45.6, and it's an angle, so it's degrees. Okay, so again, just be very careful with the steps. So it's best to get rid of square those things, simplify where you can, and then undo. The place where people tend to make a mistake, and I'm just going to highlight it because there will be some of you who are tempted to do this. You can be very tempted to add all of these together, so to type all of this into the calculator. But you need to be very careful with PEMDAS. PEMDAS says that there's an invisible times sign here, and that happens first. So you can't just simplify that all in one go. You can simplify those two, but not include the 390 straight away. All right, this is got a tricky case, but well, it's a standard use of the cosine rule, but this is probably the hardest example of the ones we've done. Okay, and there's one more on the next page. So this time we've got to drive from P to R alongside the lake. You must drive from P to Q, and Q to R is shown. What is the distance from line P to R? What I recommend is that you press pause and try and work out the answer for yourself. And when you're ready to see the answer, press play again. So press pause, and here's the solution. Okay, so we've got our triangle here. We've got an angle sandwich, so we're going to use the cosine rule, which says a squared plus b, start again. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. The a's, the matching a's, are this is our missing side, and this. Okay, so we're going to say this side squared equals the other two sides squared, the sum of the other two sides squared, minus the other two sides times cos of the angle in between them, which is the 131. So that gives us x squared equals, I'm going to type all of this into my calculator, 20 squared plus 23 squared minus 20 times 23 times cos 131. Hopefully you're doing that at the same time, and hopefully you get the same answer as me. X squared equals, I'm getting 1230.78 ... 30.78 ... It's optional to write that step, but then we need to square root, and that gives me an answer of 35.08257. Now Miss Hoodie is not here to check. Hopefully I've typed all that in right. The answer is 35 kilometers. Now one way to check is this should be the longest side, and it does seem like it's the longest side. So there we go. That is the basics of the sine and cosine rule.